out just how committed to this comp GankStars is, or whether they use that as a lesson and go back to what has worked, what has beaten Titan in the past. It is Titan that is first up with banning, and they're going to take the scarf away from Fuji.
So hopefully now we'll be able to see some more of old school's lane action like he did with Glaive the other game. And it was a phenomenal game, like very exciting to watch. And they did a lot of plays very well, executed, especially around Vaughn's perfect synergy and the perfect rotations.
Now, Old School really made a name for himself on Vox. We haven't seen any Vox at all this tournament, even though in the qualifiers he was quite popular coming off of that Xenotech build. Is there any chance at all of seeing a Vox? Why aren't we seeing Vox?
Maybe we might see a Vox this game, having both of mages being cancelled out already. Vox is really good, like depending on Billy, but because the meta has been really like shifted around Ringo and like Ringo's early game dominance, Vox never really had a chance to shine.
Okay, and as you said, GankStars Vega, they eliminate Celeste, both of the blue mages off the board, so now we're into territory where we might see, melee laners, or Ringo certainly is going to be a pick possible, and Titan, they go with the Rona. And Rome, thoughts on Titan with Rona?
Rona is actually a very good pick. We've seen how strong she is throughout all the matches during this tournament. Picking Rona first, it gives them a lot of movement room, so then they're pretty much trying to do a flex pick in the lane. But then on Vega's side is they should secure early game heroes like maybe a Ringo, a Fortress, just to prevent that power pressure coming out of Rona.
And Hafu, when you play, when you know that Rona is coming at you, what does that shift in your mind in terms of how you're going to have to approach the match?
Exactly what Rome said. You want to dominate early. Otherwise, if Rona gets to mid-game and late game, it's pretty much over. I mean, once again, we saw the Koshka kind of run her over, so maybe a Koshka here with a Fortress would be quite powerful. Oh,
okay.
There we
go.
go.
All right. And there it is, the North America 111 meta rears its head again. But, GankStars Vega they play aggressive, but not kind of like Liberation X, Hydra all in. They're a very calculated team, and now they really have to go for it, Rome.
Definitely. If they're able to secure early game damage in the jungle, during level 1, they will push for their backs. These guys are experienced to a point where they're very controlled in their plays. They know when to be aggressive. They know when to be passive. So overall, it's it depends on how much of a shot calling it will be coming out of the damage dealer in Old School or whoever's playing this Koshka.
Now, Wrecked on a Fortress, does he have any tendencies there?
He does have the tendency to jump up in front. Sometimes he gets out of position and he might be punished. So it's going to be depending on how he synergizes with his jungle carry, because as long as he's not by himself, he can use that movement speed perk.
All right, we're waiting for the next pick to come out. It is an Arden and a Ringo.
Wow.
Do you expect to CP Ringo then?
Most likely they're still going to stick with weapon power. With this one is they do have Ringo in the lane. So what they're going to do to try and play in the jungle is a little bit more passive with Rona. With Ringo being in the lane, able to secure CS and rotate down, they can secure their side of the jungle just to make sure that Vega doesn't invade too hard.
Now, Hafu, if this were Von Menace, we'd probably be seeing quad light armor.
Yeah.
What do you think?
That's what we saw last time.
But with this GankStars Vega comp that gets rounded out by a Glaive, I don't know if they can afford to purely defensively itemize when they need to be so aggressive early.
That is true, but I think we will see a very early armor stack. I mean, it's good against all three of these heroes. So you get that early armor, and that actually is more aggressive because you can take more damage, you can stay in the fight longer.
That's a great point, and of course Koshka with that boosted basic attack right off the start of the game with her base values and that. She's just fine. Rome, break it down. The Nemesis Titan comp, Rona, Arden, and Ringo into a Glaive Koshka Fortress.
What Nemesis Titan's comp is, they're going to play a bit passive in the jungle. They're going to try and scale into the mid game with Ringo coming down to help whenever needed. But on what GankStars Vega should do is, with Glaive probably playing in the lane, is he should always stay close to the minions. In case Ringo does try and rotate down, he could overextend a bit, use that afterburn, prevent him from rotating down. because in the jungle, Koshka and Fortress will take out this Rona.
All right, so with these more traditional comps, it is going to all come down to execution. Hapu, you have been impressed with GankStars' execution when they haven't been trying that softening.
Yes, I think if this is a comp that they're comfortable with, and I think they will step up here.
Okay.
Or I'll be terribly wrong again.
I think we are ready. And with these teams, who will win? Let's find out. It is Vedius and Forecourt Jester.
Well, once more, Koshka Fortress do come into the fold. And this time wasn't even a blind pick, but I mean, you got to make some kind of changes. I do like the fact that Nemesis Titan is sticking with Rona.
Yeah, and Rona really worked out for them very nicely in the first game. Dragon Dagger had a dominant performance on that, knew exactly where to be at the right place at the right time. His itemization was crisp. I was very impressed with it, and I'm looking forward to seeing how he does into game 2.
So what we saw last time that we did actually see this combo was a very early 2-kill blood in the jungle with the Fortress and the Koshka invade. Will it be that early aggression, and will it pay off this round for the GankStars? These are the questions that we're going to be trying to answer as we jump into game number 2. And at this point, it is 1-0. For the Nemesis Titan team, and if they can do what they did last round and just get Dragon Dagger to that just ridiculous late game position, this is going to be a 2-0 for them, and they will extend their tournament life to tomorrow.
And who would have thought that Nemesis Titan, coming in as the seed 8, got somewhat dismantled by Von Menace on day 1. After we saw GankStars Vega play against Von Menace, they took them to a very close series. Even though it was 2-0 in favor of Von Menace, it was still very, very close. And now Nemesis Titan here, currently leading the series up against GankStars Vega. It's just a little bit of a surprise, and definitely not something that we were expecting.
All right, so the clear on Old School is just absolutely going to be ridiculously fast, and that's why you don't see Nemesis Titan. They're not just going to proceed down there whatsoever. They are just now going to go here into the lane. They're going to look for Fuji, and Fuji is actually laning that glaive. He's not on the Koshka this round. It will be him out there. He does have that book, and he's doing fairly good things. But Nemesis Titan, they do get themselves together. They do say, all right, if there's going to be a 2v2, well, let's tip the scales. Let's do that rotation. Let's get him to the item shop, buy some items, and see if we can surprise that invade with a 3-man. But unfortunately, just does not find any water.
Nope, they have a very early scout trap to spot this invade coming out. If GankStars could get the steal, they don't unfortunately make it, but they're going for the engagement.
Yeah, they are. So that 2v2 will actually happen. And Dragon Digger, he's the big target. He is getting focused down, but loving E-Man. Not quite the hit point pool that he might have had in that last round. Low hit points abound here for Titan. Will it be E-Man? Will it be that Digger? Will it be actually the Koshka taking out the support? And now it will actually be the Fortress almost soloing out Dragon Digger. But here comes Fuji. He's even actually picked that one up as Stussy goes for the kill, but it doesn't happen. This is going to be a 3-man turnaround for GankStars.
So GankStars with the early invade. Everyone knows this is going to happen. Please tell me, Jester, did you see this coming?
Well, I mean, the 2v2, they engage, like, this is an early game comp coming out from GankStars. They have to be aggressive. They have to make this work, but I didn't expect them to come out of that flawless.
Exactly. It surprises me. I feel as though Nemesis Titan should have been way more prepared. They could have gone through the lane. They could have done a little bit of counter jungling themselves. They had a number of options available to them, and they just didn't execute upon them. They decide to go for the 2 versus 2. They don't play it properly. They end up losing. And now, after being aced after a very nice rotation coming out from Fuji, they are in a very good spot. Already,
that's a lot of armor.
Yeah, a lot of armor being picked up for Old School. And that's exactly what you want going up against a Rona, especially during the early stages of the game. Trying to take advantage of that is exactly how they're going to propel this early game lead into a snowball.
All right, so loving E-Man, he's going to go right into that bush, and he's going to be paying for it with that afterburn. Really nice pickup there from Fuji and crew, and now Stussy's just going to have to just retreat a bit more into that lane. Here comes the jungle invade, so Rekt going to be leading the way as Old School, well, he's going to trail behind, but will they pick up anything in that jungle?
Well, they're going to look to try and steal stuff away, and it does look like that some of the camps are just about to spawn. Fantastic deep ward coming out from Rekt to spawn out in the event. Oh, exactly where Nemesis Titan are, where they're rotating around, and they are looking to potentially collapse onto Dragon Dagger. They have spotted him out.
Yeah, and that's going to be the Pouncy Fun in, but unfortunately it's just, the timing wasn't there. They didn't have Fuji, and they didn't want to force into a 3v2 situation, so Fuji's now actually going to be the target. That's going to be a trap goes off, does hit E-Man, but now Dragon Digger, he's going for the backs. He's looking to do his own counter jungle. We need to get that Fortress and Koshka back onto home soil, and there they are. In fact, the entire team of Nemesis Titan is going real deep, and none of them are going to be anywhere that they need to be at this point. We are going to get those backs here from Dragon Dagger. Traps are going everywhere else, and that's going to be the Arden, as this collapse is just going to be playing out in spades for GankStar Vega.
Look at that, they immediately, Fuji, really nice decision making, recognizes that the rest of his team have got enough damage to deal with it. I don't know if Fuji can win the 1v1 though.
Needs an afterburn, doesn't have one. He did actually have a cleave. The Achilles shot, the vision. Stussy doesn't have enough to finish this off yet, and he doesn't have the energy to be chasing this either. Fuji can actually go in for the snipe. No, he's going to run the other way.
Oh! Fuji ends up going the wrong way with the afterburn. He thought he predicted where Stussy was going back. Wasn't quite on the mark, and Stussy ends up getting away from that situation. Fantastic engagement coming out from both sides. GankStars once again recognizing that the invade was coming out, and a very nice rotational play coming out from them. Immediate collapse, not allowing Nemesis Titan to build any sort of advantage or any way back into the game.
All right, so what is Fuji going to build? He is coming down here into the lane. He does actually have 2 kills. In fact, it's 2 kills apiece for the teammates here of GankStars Vega. That's actually a good amount of gold now in everybody's pocket, making them stronger as a team. And speaking of, I mean, it's 6-0, and they are about 1,000 gold ahead here at the 5-minute mark.
And looks like Old School actually going for a very early Aftershock, which does make a lot of sense. Dragon Dagger and Loving E-Man going to be stacking a lot of HP, meaning that Aftershock will work very nicely into both those heroes. So especially it's going to give you a large amount of cooldown acceleration, which is always valuable on that Koshka hero. So nice itemization pickup. I do like that, really making the most out of that lead, but it does look another engagement has kicked off.
Yeah, Loving E-Man will be finding not only Old School, but the Fortress there as well. We do got some stutter stepping from Stussy, but it's going to be the turnaround, the stun. Here comes Fuji as well. He does have that ult with mines on the floor as well. 1 kill apiece by the end of it. Loving E-Man is now separated out from the Dragon Dagger, but I'm not too sure there's enough in the tank to take down that Rona this early. But 1 point now on the board for Nemesis Titan. You know, this second game is not looking too favorable here in the early.
It certainly isn't, but this is the nature of GankStars' composition. They're all about the early game. They're all about running into the jungle and picking up whatever advantages they can. Notice that even though they ended up trading 1-for-1, they were able to steal away a lot of the camps. They were able to get a lot of gold onto the side of GankStars, and that was fantastic for them to further extend their composition. I like the fact that Loving E-Man went for the early Shiver Steel to try and peel off for that Dragon Dagger, but things just have not been working out, and the Aftershock that has now been picked up from Old School means that he's just going to shred through Loving E-Man in these engagements.
Now, something to look at Stussy, you know, if you see a Rona on a team there, especially with that Arden, you might think he goes Crystal. He just picked up a weapon Infusion on the back of, you know, a little bit of damage and that reflex. It's double weapon carry right now for Nemesis.
So they're very likely to work more towards that armor, and they recognize that very early on. You can already see a lot of these light armors being picked up for GankStars Vega. They've itemized very well for the composition that Nemesis Titan has been working towards. A lot of reflex box have already been picked up for the side of Nemesis Titan. They want to deal with the Koshka ultimate and the engagement coming out from the side of GankStars. And speaking of...
Yeah, that's a big sandwich right there. Nemesis Titan is in the middle, and that Aftershock going forward, the Afterburn looking for that Loving E-Man. He did actually kick him back. That is going to be enough. The Hellfire Brew comes out, but it's on Fuji. He will survive it. Now it's going to be the Yummy Catnip Frenzy. Stussy's the big target, but it's too close to the turret. They will have to just settle for 1 bite of that 3-man sandwich, and so far, GankStars again very much in control of this early game.
That was a very nice collapse coming out from GankStars. They recognized that Loving E-Man was not in a great position, but it looks like the engagement isn't quite over yet.
Immense payout goes out while these 2 weapon carries in the mid are actually just dueling it out. Stussy, no, way too late to that party. But at this point, again, like the cash has really accelerated. Almost 3,000 gold between these teams. And GankStars Vega, I mean, not only are they in control of the money, the kills, they've been having scout traps placed everywhere over this map.
They are doing a great job of controlling the vision. They want to know exactly where Nemesis Titan are so that they can facilitate their aggression around that. Very smart players. You heard them talk about it on the analysis desk, how while GankStars definitely know how to play aggressive, it's not quite blind aggression, it's very calculated aggression. They know when to make these plays. They know how to be smart about their decision making, and it's evident right here. They're very smart about how they decide to go for the invade, about how they choose to target specific individuals given the circumstances that they're in, and I'm very impressed with how they've managed to change things up considering how awful their game 1 went.
All right, so the double weapon carry shows no sign of actually relenting here from Nemesis, and we do got armor here, pretty plenty on GankStars Vega. They're going to go for Stussy. That's going to be the gauntlet, but it doesn't hit anybody. They're already into the middle of it. Dragon Dagger with that red mist is actually making a big dent here in the hit points. Wrecked would be traded out as Glaive picks up the kill. Ringo as well, but Loving E-Man, he needs to get out of dodge. He is going to use those sprint boots, and now we just cannot close that distance to Stussy, especially with that turret there.
That was a very close exchange between the two teams, and the thing is, Stussy had a fantastic reflex block there to deal with the ultimate coming out from Old School. This is why it was important to pick that up very early on, because if he hadn't, he instantly would have fallen right there. Notice Fuji has actually decided to go for the Shiver Steal as well.
Yeah.
Recognize that it's quite difficult to stick onto the targets, even with a Fortress in their composition. Having that means that he will be able to get a slow on all of his auto attacks. It will be very easy for him to stick to the targets, and that means that it's going to be easier to lock them down with this hyper-aggressive composition that they're running.
And that will actually affect not both carries here from Nemesis Titan with Stussy, with that Dragon Dagger, because again, they both are sitting here at weapon. A few more reflex boxes are going to be out, but nope, never mind. Let's get back into it. 9-2 for the score, and GankStars Vega, again, are holding this gold lead. 4,000 is pretty close to the count here. That's going to be the gold mine. We do have a candy on it, and Nemesis is just saying, well, we got to take a shot, but that's all they're about to get.
Yeah, they cannot afford to fight right now, especially with the minion candy on top of the gold mine. This was very smart coming out from GankStars Vega. They recognized the immense gold payout is slowly coming towards that point. So they picked up those minion candies, used it to maintain controls, and the fight kicks off.
Yeah, Arden just gets absolutely deleted. The Glaive puts another one in his pocket. Now Stussy, low hit points. The leap is going to come in here from the Rona, but now she has nowhere to go. No escape mechanism whatsoever, but Glaive a little bit too slow on the draw. It will not be the second kill.
That was a little bit mispositioning coming out from Loving E-Man. Wasn't quite in the situation that he really wanted to be, and it was a very nice collapse coming out from Rekt and Old School. And once again, they are immediately into the back end of this jungle. GankStars Vega know exactly how to take advantage of the leads that they have, always moving in, stealing away the jungle camp, stealing away that experience, and further propelling the lead that they already have.
Well, Sorrow Blade for Stussy, but could this be too little too late? He does have a very strong creep score, but look at Fuji. 96 and counting. He has very rarely given up anything in that lane, and sitting at 5-0-4. This Glaive is starting to just pull miracles out of that axe.
Certainly is, and right now Rekt could be looking for an engagement onto Loving E-Man, but instead he's just going to be jumping around trying to send a message and say, no, this is my half of the map, this is my jungle, and if you want to contest me, we're more than happy to go for it, as it does look like, once again, GankStars Vega moving into the back half of Titan jungle.
Yeah, so now, the afterburn out is going to be wasting not only one, but two ultimates. Stussy's still going to get some auto attacks on top of Fuji, but it should not be the end of it all. Loving E-Man goes for the uppercut on the turret, and now Fuji is trying to defend it 1v3. Here comes Rekt and Old School. The turret is going to drop, but the red mist is doing some work. Fuji's actually dropping real low, but he's actually still standing. One kill, 1 for 1. Impressive coming out as now Stussy, the lone survivor, has to run for the hills, and that is going to be an ace. I'm not entirely too sure a turret is going to be worth the pain that GankStars Vega can now do up on the Nemesis Titan lineup.
That was fantastic play coming out from that team right there. GankStars Vega using the Fountain of Renewal from Rekt to keep Old School alive and keep Fuji alive long enough to allow them to get the damage down that they needed to swing the fight heavily in their favor. That was so clutch between the two teams, but the simple fact is there just was not enough support coming out from Loving E-Man to keep the rest of his team alive. You saw these shields come down onto Dragon Dagger, but it just was not enough. GankStars Vega in full control of this game right now.
All right, so if you look at that gold mine, it did just do their immense payout, so it's not exactly a big target right now, but you saw as soon as that ace happened, we went into that lane, we pushed it, we took that jungle away. It's not quite a factor of 2 for the cash, but we're looking at just under 7,000 between these teams.
We certainly are, and what a ridiculous goal difference it is at this point. Fuji has now completed both the Breaking Point and the Sorrow Blade. He's going to be doing an insane amount of damage, and they're all just sitting in this brush hoping that Nemesis Titan might go for a little bit of a walk, want to go for a wander, and this could be Dragon Dagger.
Yeah, that's absolutely going to be Dragon Dagger. Does he have that leap? It doesn't even matter. Now we even have a stun ready for Stussy. Puts him a little bit farther out from the turret than he might have liked, but at this point, we're not going to go diving for him. One kill is enough to keep these guys in control majority of this match, and at this point, 14-2. Nemesis Titan got to be wondering, where did things go wrong?
They certainly will be, and it's all off the back of GankStars Vega early aggression that Nemesis Sign just did not prepare well enough for it. It was such an obvious play coming out from GankStars Vega, and Nemesis Titan had no idea on how to deal with it. They gave away an ace right off the get-go, and off the back of that, GankStars Vega's pressure has been unrelenting. It has not been Nemesis Titan's jungle. It belongs to Old School and Wrecked. It has always belonged to Old School and Wrecked. And to be honest, the moment you saw Dragon Dagger being like, this is my one opportunity to finally get some jungle farm, Old School was like, nope, dies, immediate kill, and they gained further control over the map.
Yeah, Cat's got your tongue, and then he just went down right there. Didn't even get a scream for help. But at this point, 14-2 in 14 minutes, definitely of the GankStars Vega tempo. And every one of them have, between the kills and deaths, 13 participation out of that 14. These guys are just making things happen. Yummy Catnip Frenzy does not actually land. The reflex block was good enough, but Loving E-Man with that gauntlet, it's his only gift to this fight. He is going to drop. The red mist is just not going to be enough, or maybe it will with Dragon Dagger, but it's Stussy paid the price for that survival on the Rona. Unbeatable comes out as we go 8-0-7 with Fuji.
Old School having that aftershock, you saw how easy it was for him to shred through Loving E-Man, who's mostly stacked health right now. Old School just does an insane amount of damage. There's just so much available for GankStars Vega to just walk through the lineup of Nemesis Titan. Even with Stussy going towards this Bone Sword to try and deal with how they've managed to build, it just has not been working out, and GankStars Vega maintain control over the map. They've also picked up some Atlas Pauldrons, so they're going to be working towards a lot of armor, a lot of shield. They're going to be tankier and so much harder now for Nemesis Titan to deal with.
Well, Stussy did pick up that bone saw, but unfortunately, again, is this too little too late? We just got the Serpent Mask on Dragon Dagger, and that's his only item. Looking at the two in terms of the inventory of Glaive versus the Rona, it is a very clear victor. And, Ringo, sure, you can pick up that weapon infusion, but again, this far behind, they have to work
Fuji.
a miracle.
He actually failed the afterburner over the wall, which means that they couldn't go for the engagement that they wanted. But I don't think they're going to be too upset about that. They're likely going to use the minion wave to set up some kind of shove, and then have that as an opportunity to potentially posture around the Titan, and Kraken even, sorry, and pick that one up, maybe look for the game-ending shove.
All right, so at this point, just going to take away some of those backs. Rona scouting out, just going to be confirming the worst of the suspicions. But at this point, Loving E-Man and crew, they are pretty much just stuck to that turret. Their best chance at a fight will be under a turret or at the Kraken. And so far, all GankStars Vega got to do is just look for a kink in the armor and make sure that they can press that advantage home.
They're going to be looking for that weakness because it is their only opportunity to work their way back in. 10,000 goal difference between the two teams. Nemesis Titan did a fantastic job of that aggressive playstyle in the last game. They have not been able to repeat that coming into game 2. GankStars, you heard it from Rome, if they can just sort out their draft phase, if they can sort out their execution, then they'll definitely be the ones to come out ahead, and you saw that in this second game as a Hellfire Brew comes out. Yeah,
the Gauntlet going down as well, just trying to keep Wrecked away from the team. If they can get that pick off, it might be a 3v2 miracle, but so far it's just not happening. Stussy's now going to be the big target. He got locked down. Glaive comes in for that kill. Koshka is able to take it home, and now Loving E-Man, it's not looking good for him. That Koshka's going to clean up, and it's going to be that ace going once more here to GankStars Vega. Now they can push through that lane, pick up some turrets, and probably put themselves into an endgame winnable position.
That looked like quite a good fight initially for Nemesis Titan. That Gauntlet completely separated Wrecked from the rest of his team, but is Wrecked really the target that you want to be focusing down?
He has
he
armor,
has got
he has life spring,
so
he has
much
Crucible
available to him. He stayed alive for an insane amount of time. Old School then used his reflex block to get through the Gauntlet, join in the fight, and once he was there, they immediately went on to Stussy, shut him down, and now they're looking to close out the game.
Well, 3 turrets on the back of an ace. That gold lead has exploded to the 13,000 mark, but it's just not enough to end it yet. Stussy and crew are back, but we have a lot of hit points. We're just waiting for ultimates. In fact, everybody has about 20 seconds or so. Well, Wreck needs at least 20 seconds or so. Koshka could probably just do anything she wants at this point, and Glaive with those crits is just forced on his own. But they're going to play it safe. They're probably going to pick up some more infusions, and if Fuji can live through this, it's going to be a heck of a fight.
Warhorn has just been picked up. They're going to use it to start the fight.
Yeah, the Warhorn, like, you don't even have to go far. Yummy Cat and Frenzy, they have to burn into the hit. That is Ringo out of this fight. Not even a Hellfire Brew from him. Dragon Taker now going to be taking the cue to leave, but it's just going to get followed out here by the Koshka. Red Mist will prolong this inevitable, but it is not going to be the Rona day. And now Loving E-Man is going to get chased down by wolves, by traps. That trap has been there since the 2-minute mark. Is he going to gauntlet over the wall? He will, and he's going to get a stun for his trouble. It won't be the ace, and there's no minions to push down, but can they go through the back door?
They're going to be looking for it. They have a couple minions available to them. Rekt is insanely tanky at this point in time, and it should be an easy matter of taking that turret, taking the Vein Crystal, and equalizing the score 1-1. That's going to be GankStars Vega going to game 3.
All right, GankStars, very weak game number 1, but coming out in supremely good form.